Hello there YouTube, I'm not dead. Yeah, I didn't do anything for a while. But I thought I'd start back doing stuff, and I thought I'd start with Lancer Frogs since I've been playing the deck. I've played the deck in so many forms. I'm going to start with this, which is a sort of, I was going to say standard, but it's not really standard because there isn't really a standard. But now, ever since we had Slushy, the deck sort of got a bit ridiculous. So I'll start with the monster lineup, which is 3 parts. The first is the Frog engine. So Swap Frog does what it does. Mills Frogs. Yeah, basically it sets up your graveyard for everything, and is basically the win condition of the deck. If you get Swap Frog, you win. If you don't get Swap Frog, it's gonna be a tough game. To that end, you have 3 Dupe Frog, because it searches Swap Frog. It's also a 2k wall. There is the attack lock you can do with it, in which if you have 2 of these, your opponent can't attack any of your monsters. Sorry. Although if they have something like Atlantean Dragoons, I believe they can still attack directly. Not sure about that though. But yeah, so it's basically a good lock for protecting your monsters. Also, it's prime removal fodder for Ronin Toadins, because it can equip to your Sea Lancer and gives you searches. Speaking of Ronin Toadins, 3 Ronin Toadins, the other 2k wall. It's again, this is the other key player of the Frog engine. This is basically all of your tribute fodder and all of your gachi fodder. 2 Poison Draw Frogs. The other ridiculous plus from equipping to Sea Lancer does what it does. You can even summon this. You can summon this and creature swap it. You still get the draw if you run over it. So it's another also amazing creature swap fodder. So is Dupe Frog. Incidentally, if you creature swap Dupe Frog and attack over it, you get the search, which is nice. 1 Treeborn. I only play the 1 Treeborn because it's not, it's not Frog Monarchs. You don't need the Treeborn that often, but it's good to have it there, and it's good for Slacker Magician. And it's also useful sometimes to just have that extra floating monster that will just keep being in the way every turn. The last thing in the Frog engine are sort of honorary members. Slushies. Oh my god, this card is so good. I don't really know what to say about this card. I'll summarise its effect. When it's normal summon, you can send another Slushy from your deck to the graveyard. If there are 3 total in your graveyard or banished pile, so if you have like 2 in the graveyard and there's 1 banished already, then you can still do it. You banish 1 copy of Slushy from the graveyard to target a level 5 or higher Sea Serpent monster in the graveyard. Special summon it. That's it. No level restriction, no attack restriction, no attribute restriction. That's it. All of it. Any of those. Any level 5 or higher Sea Serpent. Which is actually ridiculous, because then it just gives you a free beat stick. It's a great way to put pressure on the opponent, especially early on. And I'll explain later about the Sea Serpents I use for it. The second part of the monster lineup is the boss monsters. And where would this deck be without Sea Lancer? 1300, so it gets under bottomless when you summon it. What can I say about Sea Lancer? Well, I'll summarise its effect. You can target any number of fish, sea serpent, or aqua type monsters that are banished. Sorry, you're banished fish, sea serpent, or aqua, my bad. Equip them to this card. That's it. Any of them. No level restriction, no attribute restriction. It doesn't even specify they have to be main deck monsters. They can be synchros or exceed monsters. So if your opponent banishes your Abyss Gaius, you can equip it to Sea Lancer. If Sea Lancer will be destroyed, you can destroy 1 of his equips instead. And as long as he has at least 1 of his equips, he gains 1,000 attack points. So he's basically 2300. And takes multiple hits to kill, which is amazing. And obviously, if you equip things like Poison Draw Frog, if you equip Poison Draw Frog to this, if Sea Lancer would be destroyed, you destroy this instead. This card was sent from face up on the field to the graveyard, so you draw a card. And that works with Dupe Frog as well, gives you a search. But as long as the last thing to happen is that going to the graveyard. The other thing to note is that if Sea Lancer will be destroyed at the same time as all of his equips, he can't save himself, because he can't destroy an equip instead, since those are also being considered destroyed. So if your opponent Black Roses, everything goes to the graveyard, but if you've got the Poison Draws or Dupes equipped, you still get their searches and draws. 2 Mother Grizzlies. I've put these in the boss monster section because they're basically extra copies of Sea Lancer. It's an extra way of searching it. If you don't have it at the beginning of the game, it's an extra way of searching Swap Frog. It's actually quite a good card, and it also gets around. It's amazing for getting around stuff like Sided Mask of Restricts, because it lets you get to your Sea Lancer without tributing. So you summon this, you smash it into something, and then it brings out your Sea Lancer from the deck. Nothing else to say really. Also, it's another good target for creature swap. Poseidras, 2 Poseidra, the Atlantean Dragon. This is the main this is the Slushy target in the deck, but also its other effect can actually be used, which is you tribute 3 level 3 or lower water monsters. You special summon this card from the hand or graveyard. When you do, you return all spell and trap cards on the field to hand. At this point, it counts the number of spell and traps that were returned by the effect, and if it was 3 or more, all your opponent's face-up monsters at that point lose 300 attack for each one returned. So if you bounce 3 cards of this, all of your opponent's monsters lose 900 attack. If you bounce 4, they lose 1200, and it's actually really, really easy to get this guy to just, not only does it sweep all the background out of your way for a turn, but it also makes everything, puts everything within attacking over it range, which is fantastic. And of course it's level 7, so it's easy fodder for Big Eye and Abyssgaios. Final 2 boss monsters in the deck are 2 Light and Darkness Dragons. Oh my goodness me. I don't really need to talk about Light and Darkness Dragon. It's so good. I've already talked about it in videos about Disaster Dragon. I don't have to say how good it is, especially since its revival effect has no restrictions other than it has to be able to be special summoned. So, Sea Lancer, Poseidra, pretty much anything you like. You can just grab it straight out of the deck. Straight out of the graveyard once this thing dies. And obviously its ability to eat card advantage is legendary. The monster lineup is rounded off by the stalling, essentially, the battle phase, hand traps, gores, double fader, and I've saved this for last, double Tragodia. Tragodia is actually quite good. I mean, it took me by surprise how good Tragodia actually is. I mean, not just for the fact that obviously it stops OTKs, and it can be a 3000 attack monster. It can be a 3000 attack stick in the early game. The level changing and stealing effect is incredible. I mean, especially considering the format is full of level 7 spam, and then you've got, if Mermails leave an Abyss Teus on the board, or a Megalo on the board, and you drop Trag, you pitch Poseidra, you steal it, Trag copies Poseidra, you make it rank 7, like that. It's also amazing because you can then use Light and Darkness Dragon to steal level 8s, so you can steal Grathas, Hyperions, Christias. You can also steal Stardust Dragons, you can steal Scrap Dragons, you can steal Burados with it as well. Of course you can steal Bures with Poseidra. There is so much stuff you can steal, and Tragodia in itself becomes a win condition against 6 Samurai, because if you discard Sea Lancer and steal Xian, they will cry. They will cry a little inside, if not outside. And then you can also, of course, you can just put it underneath a Tiras, if you want to make sure that Xian stays out of their graveyard, so in case they have Reborn or Cunning or whatever else they use to revive their fallen samurai. That's sort of the entire monster lineup. 29 monsters, I think. Yeah, 29. But the spell lineup is, of course, fairly slimmed down. It's actually it's standard stuff with a couple of tech options. So the standard stuff is Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, Reborn, and Triple MST, because the deck hates main deck macros, and it's also useful to be able to, it's also useful to be able to clear the way as much as possible, so that your opponent's back row doesn't get in your way for any big pushes you want to make, or if you just need, if you need a play to resolve successfully. Double Salvage. This card is actually very amazing in here. It can be a Monster Reborn for Swap Frog, because you just add back Swap and a Water Monster, you discard one special Swap Frog. The other thing it can do is recycle Sea Lancer. You can add Sea Lancer back from your graveyard to your hand with this card, because it only has 1300 base attack, which is incredible. Also Foolish because it's the Slushy targets that Swap Frog cannot send, so if you don't draw one of them to discard for Swap Frog, you can Foolish them away, so it's basically the third copy of Poseidra, where other people would play 3 Poseidra, I play 2 and a Foolish. Because occasionally, you will open with Foolish and Salvage, but no Swap Frog, so you you basically stall out till you get another water in the grave, you push a swap, you salvage them back, and then you get going. The other two spells I play are 2 creature swaps. Really love this card. I mean, it goes well with Dupe Frog, Poison Draw Frog, Treeborn, a Ronin Toad-in, goes well with Mother Grizzly. You can even creature swap a Trag if they have no cards in hand. You can swap them a Dead Fader, you can swap them a Slushy that you've summoned for its effect. There's so many targets in the deck. You can even swap them a Dead Lancer if it's got no equips left. Just an incredible card. There's so much capacity in this deck to take control of the opponent's monsters. That's the entire main deck. The extra deck is sort of where it gets a bit fun, well, a bit more fun, but this is still fairly standard. Slacker Magician, because 4 Fader and Treeborn, if you have nothing to tribute them for. Double Dark Mist, I played double in here because there's the space, and because it's amazing to have the second out. You know, if you use a Dark Mist to get over a big monster, if they have a Reborn for it, you say, okay, I have the second Dark Mist for the Reborn version. So, you know, it's amazing to have that second out to things. Triple Gachi is basically the reason this deck is so good, is Gachi. It adds to the number of things you can summon that can't be destroyed a certain number of times, and of course it boosts all your monsters, so Lancer becomes 2/7 if it has equips, and Gachi has 2 materials. Don't need to explain Gachi really. Phoenix, because it turns 2 Ronin Toad-ins into 3000 damage on a clear field. Or with a Phoenix and a Gachi, you get a 1900 double attacker, which is pretty good. Sorry. 1 Shining Elf. I really underrated this card for a while, but it's actually quite good. I mean, that 500 attack difference... Oh, sorry, I should explain really. Generic rank 2. When your opponent normal or special summons a monster, except during the damage step, detach 1 material from this card. That monster or monsters lose 500 attack. So if your opponent rescue rabbits for 2 vanillas, you can use this effect. Both vanillas will lose 500 attack. Yeah, it's just attack. So that 500 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually a massive difference. I mean, if you think about Mermails, they play Abyss Lead just as a beat stick, because it's got 2700, it can get over all the 2600s, all the 2500s, it'll get over Ophion if they can somehow get it out. With Shining Elf, you know, you cut that down to 2/2, suddenly that Abyss Lead is a 2200 beat stick. It's actually really small. It can cut anything, so if your opponent summons a Gwyber, you cut it down, it's got 1200. If they summon a Heliotrope, you cut it down to 1450. You cut basically anything to put it within range of you being able to kill it without needing Gachis on the board. I play 1 Abyss Dweller. It's the only rank 4 I play because I only play 2 level 4s, but I have Trag as well, so, you know, if I have Trag and Mother Grizzly, I can make this. The fact that if you leave Mother Grizzly on here, it boosts your entire field of water monsters by 500, which is pretty good, because obviously most of the deck is water. I play 2 rank 5s, Volcasaurus and Tyrus. Let's get a better angle on this. Volcasaurus and Tyrus, both of which are amazing in their own right. Tyrus because it dodges stuff like Bottomless, it dodges Mirror Forces, and of course it pops stuff if it survives the battle phase, then attacks. Volcasaurus itself is amazing. Detach 1, blow up a monster, burn your opponent for... is it half its attack points? No, it's original attack points. Sorry, yeah. So you destroy a monster, burn for its original attack points, and then you put Gaia Dragon on top, swing for 26, or you can hold on to it for next turn. Rank 7s, playing 1 Big Eye, 1 Gaia Dragon, and 1 Abyss Gaius. I don't need to talk about Big Eye, everyone knows what Big Eye does. Gaia Dragon is, of course, incredible. Not only is he, obviously you can put him on top of a rank 5 or 6, so if you creature swap 1, or you Big Eye, your opponent's, say, Dead Strike Bouncer, you overlay for a Gaia Dragon, you can do that way. Or even an M7 once Hidden Arsenal 7 is out. Abyss Gaius is fantastic, because actually it's surprisingly difficult to get over. I mean, obviously, you know, Dark Hole, Heavy Infantry, other effects like that, Spell and Trap cards, but still the 28 beat stick that stops level 5 and higher monsters attacking is surprisingly good, and will always force subpar plays. And then 1 Heliopolis just to round off the extra deck, because if Trag steals level 8, you've got that possibility. If you have a dead Light and Darkness Dragon, and somehow summon another one. You can always make this. I don't need to really talk about this, it's going on for such a long time. I'll go really quickly through the side deck. Dark Dust Spirit, 2 Caius, 2 Jinzo. I don't really need to talk about that much. I just sort of side into Monarchs but with more tribute fodder. Jinzo is incredible, I don't need to talk about Jinzo. Double Smashing Ground, I still prefer this over Soul Taker, mainly because I don't have any Soul Takers. The other reason is because in those strange matchups where somebody plays an Obelisk, you just smash it. If they have a Battle Trice with 4 materials, which Soul Taker can't target, you just smash it. Double Breakthrough skill is incredible, the synergy it has with the deck. It leaves the field, unlike Fiendish Chain, so it leaves it open for Treeborn. It can also stop Herald of Perfection, Christia, Fossil Diner. It can stop things like that during your turn that they can't stop. Double Dust Tornado, because the deck hates macro, and other stuff that gets sided on it. Double Mind Crush, because calling Abyss Megalo in response to its effect is hilarious, and Tenki searches. And double Torrential, because it's good. Probably the best trap in the game at this point. That's the whole deck. I haven't really got time to talk about this because it's gone on for 16 minutes already. That's Lancer Frogs. Essentially, that's the deck. I'll go over different builds of this deck that I've played in some videos that will come up soon. I've also got a couple of crazy ass builds that I thought would never work and that have done better than any other build I've played. So I'll record those and I'll post them up as well. Until then, see you guys.